welcome to Connect to Success with me, Ashley Owens, your personal networking concierge, 12:30, 1 o'clock on Thursdays during your lunch break, where we talk to the power networkers of the greater Philadelphia and South Jersey area. And I finally have the experience to get my friend Jonathan Childs on the show today.
Yeah, I'm
Dude,
sorry.
So long, it's been like 3 years since we've been working with GPV and the Greater Philadelphia Veterans Network. And like another two begging you to come on the show. Thank you for clicking the link and signing up. I appreciate it.
It's not nearly that one-sided. Don't listen to her, please. No, I'm actually the one who was like, hey, Ashley, what's up? You know, get on now.
Yeah. Well, I'm busy now. Like I can't. I'm just too busy now.
You're Oprah now, so it's like.
I am Oprah. You're welcome. No, thank you again for being here, dude. I'm so glad that people can actually finally see you in the limelight that you should be, because you're pretty damn awesome. So tell people who you are and what you do and what makes you awesome. Don't forget that part, because my guests forget that part.
Okay. My name is Jonathan Childs. I'm a chartered financial consultant, pretty much a financial planner and partner of McNamara Financial Group.
Okay.
We're based out of Doylestown, Pennsylvania.
Nice.
I hate using the word financial planner because people use that word all the time. It just gets really
like life
inundated.
coach. It's too much.
So I prefer actually thinking of myself as a financial fitness trainer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, broad shoulders help. So.
Yeah. So I use the analogy, for instance, like a lot of people, no matter how healthy you are, you tend to we join the gym.
Right.
Why do we join the gym?
Because we're fat and we like tacos.
Well, some people are, or some people are actually in great shape, but they want to run a marathon, or they want to do this or that, or whatever. They want to lose weight. They want to lower blood pressure, so on and so forth. Well, what do you do when you first go in? You get a trainer usually, because you don't know what you want to do. Right. You know the goal, but you don't know how to get there yet.
Right.
So my job is, you go in, just like a trainer, you go in there, you talk to them, the trainer asks you, what are your goals? What are you trying to do?
Right.
And then they say, okay, well, where do you stand?
Right.
Like, where do you right now? Like, what's your weight? How fast can you run? Right,
you kind of do like a qualifying or like an audit of the body, the mind, the whole, everything that comes with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then once I get all the information together, we figure, okay, these are the workouts you should do. This is how often you should do it. This is your weight.
Right.
This is what, the reps you should be doing, the sets, so on and so forth.
Right.
And then based upon them, while you're doing them, I correct and say, okay, you're doing it correctly, but do a little slower, do a little faster. And then I'm just with you the whole time. And then I do periodic reviews to let you know, hey, this is where you're going. Look how far you've come. This is where we're going. And then when things change, so say for instance, you were to get into you pulled a hammy or something like that, you can no longer get on a treadmill. Well, then how can we adjust that, and how can we actually change it up a little bit, but so you're still going towards the goal, but you're doing it a different way. So that's pretty much my thing. I'm pretty much a financial coach.
I love that. And I think especially now with everything that's going on, in the world in general, but I think there's three things that people are very scared of. Or not scared of, but are inevitable. It's things that are sometimes hard to talk about, which is sex, politics, and taxes, right?
Exactly.
And money. And I don't know about you, I was Irish Catholic, brought up there, and you don't talk about any of those. Yeah. So, especially now, I would really like to talk to you about when you work with a client, what can they expect from you, in this coaching aspect? Because a lot of times financial advisors or financial planners will kind of give the boilerplate, and I'm saying this because I want to hear more about your process, kind of give more of the boilerplate of, service offerings. And I feel like with you being that financial fitness coach, it actually means more because you're working on different muscles, which could be different aspects, and you're working a muscle and you're coaching in a way so that way they don't need you, years down the line, things like that. So tell me more about that process.
Well, what I want to do is I want to make sure they're set up so that they don't need me as much. I do want to still be there for their, so I can be the consultant if they want to put things, and I can still be that person to nudge them and say, hey, remember, But the way I work differently than a lot of other people is a lot of the financial advisors that I've seen, that I've worked along with, they talk high level. And they say, oh yeah, your R squared and your Sharpe ratio and your alpha and beta, blah, blah, look how this chart's going this way, that. Do you really care about that?
No.
Yeah, it's over here like that. I
would like money in my savings account.
Exactly.
That's what I want.
Look at the bottom line and say, okay, this is what my figure looks like, but how is it getting me to my goal? There was a guy, actually, one of my mentors when I first started in the industry, he used to say, liars figure, but figures never lie. And I want to take it one step further and say figures never lie, but figures have a story behind them. The actual numbers behind it. What does that number mean? Does that number mean that I could be closer to retiring comfortably? Does that number mean that I can actually send my kid to college? Does that number mean that I'm going to be able to, buy that new house or do that new car, whatever it is that I need? So I speak to people about what it is that you want. Like it's yours. It's not a boilerplate. Like here, this is the plan. It works for you. It works for them. It works for. It's like no. It's actually what works for you will not work for your sister or your brother or your friend or anything like that. So it's very customized, very specific to you. So that's the way I look at it. And I do a lot more listening than talking. You know, you may not see it right now. I'm talking a lot now, but yeah, I do a lot more listening than talking, and I see that this was different for me. Usually.
Where do you think that skill set came from? Because I know that you're a veteran. So can you tell more about your veteran career?
Well, when you're a veteran, usually when you first start out, you can't say anything but yes, sir, no, excuse, sir, I don't understand. You know, those are four, or ma'am. You know, that was the things that were at West Point. Those are four excuses. That was it. That's all you could say. So I learned that very often too. But one thing I did learn also is one thing being a veteran, being in the military, is you're bunched in with people from all different walks of life, all different backgrounds and political beliefs and races and so on and so forth. But you all got to come in and work together. So one way you get to kind of know people is basically, despite all those little differences, they're pretty much trivial. Everybody wants to be safe. Everybody wants to be happy. Everybody wants to feel valued, right? And that's what you focus on. So in order to find out those things, a lot of times people are naturally skeptical. If I don't know you, then I'm not going to tell you about my deep, darkest feelings and fears and things like that. So if you let them talk, though, and you actually show actual interest in them, and you actually are backing it up with the way you act and things like that, and being more proactive instead of reactive, then you tend to get people to tell you about themselves, and that's where you can kind of gear the solution.
I feel like as well, with you being a veteran, you're absolutely right. I mean, you were taught how to listen and you were taught how to react. And I feel like your approach is more proactive than reactive, which is great because it also means that your clients are working with you in a way that's more proactive than reactive.
Exactly.
So you're preparing them for the worst or preparing them for the best. And being able to protect them in that way is, especially with something as sensitive as finances, I think is just extraordinary.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. There were many times where I sat in front of people and I would talk to a person and say, "Hey, do you know your wife has this?" Like, "No, shut up."
Yeah.
And I'd be like, "Hey, listen, that's not my thing. I'm not. This is a no judgment zone." But it really is. People are very tight knit. Usually about their health and about the health and their finances are usually they're very close knit about that kind of stuff. So.
I mean, so when you're working with somebody in this kind of particular, actually, let's go back. Why did you get involved? How did you get involved in that industry? Or what did you do before?
Okay.
Should I bring out drinks? Like, I feel like, should we take a shot of something? I've got whiskey in the car that I just bought from Wegmans, which is why I was late. After I do that.
Yeah, well, okay, going back, so back to my military career. So obviously, as you know, but they don't know.
Yeah.
I graduated West Point in 2002. One of the best days of my life, other than my marriage, of course, I love you, honey, was I got my diploma from George Bush, and my mom's birthday, big day. On the way home from graduation, my SUV flipped off the side of the road, and I was in a coma for 5 days, hospital for 2 months. I had to learn how to walk again, all that stuff like that, too. 22 years old, about to start my life, and just took a sharp left turn. Now, going from that, for 2.5 years, that was when the Iraq War started kind of picking up.
Iraqi freedom.
So OIF, OEF. So Army had me at home for a little bit, said, okay, we'll call you when we need you. 2.5 years later, they said, okay, we need you. So they had me work at Walter Reed. I was at Walter Reed for about a year. Again, that's what I saw firsthand with how the war is. And then I got medical discharge. They said, thanks for your service, but we don't need you. So then I said, what am I gonna do now? Yeah. So then the recession came up a few years after that.
Yes,
so I was changing jobs and I was getting laid off, and a lot of these things that are unexpected and you're just like, wow, how do I do this? Ultimately, despite all that, finances was kind of my hobby. Like I played a little bit of money here and E-Trade, Scott Trade, and things like that, and read books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and all that stuff. And I said, well, let me try my hand at finances. And this industry, it's all on you too. So I couldn't get laid off. Because I was tired of being the first person in the office to come in and last person to leave, but still being the first one on the chopping block because of the totem pole and seniority and all that stuff.
Right there with you. I had 18 jobs like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So exactly. So I said, let me work for myself, because I'm one of the hardest people working I know. I'm one of the most honest, and I'm I think I'm pretty competent.
Yeah.
At least I give that impression off.
You're faking it. It's cool.
Yeah, I'm faking it. I'm a good actor too. Actually, side note, I was on a pilot for Scandal.
Were you really?
Not Scandal, no. How to Get Away with Murder.
How to Get Away with Murder.
How to Get
Oh
Away
my
with Murder.
gosh,
I was
yeah.
an extra. So
Dude,
watch
listen,
it.
being extras I was an extra for 5 years. I've been in 12 movies.
Really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
But first of all, could you just talk about being an extra for a second? Because,
Yeah.
sorry guys, give
Yeah.
us a minute.
This is old friends.
This is old friends.
Yeah.
But when you're an extra, because you were non-union, right? So then you're there for 16 hours.
All day.
So when you're non-union, you get a chance to get to know because you're there for, it's hurry up and wait, right? The only cool skill I gained from being a non-union extra was that I could sleep anywhere because, unless you hear they're checking the gate, then you know that the scene isn't over yet.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
you're there for so long. So I had no idea. That's
Yeah.
the more you know.
Yeah.
So with your background, and again, I think that it's so beneficial that you can work, independently by yourself. You understand the value of finances because you saw that there was a need. You had an interest in it, and it wasn't like you just took the job because you needed the job. It was more of, I have an interest, let me explore this.
Exactly.
With your experience being a financial coach, can you give me an example? You don't have to go into specifics, but can you give me an example of how you've taken a problem and how you fixed it with one of your clients? And it could just be we got them from here to here, or at least they felt more comfortable. Is there anything that, I know compliance is a thing, but if there's anything that you can at least say that you work with them on?
Well, I would go even more generalized.
Sure.
I would say that after I look at a lot of people's finances, because we go deep into it, we dive deep in there.
Yeah.
And actually, it starts off, it's a couple-step process. Usually, the first, they'll give me a little bit here. And then once they say, oh, that's how that works? Okay, we're here. I forgot about this. Let me give you a little more of this, and so on and so forth. I've had some clients that I've looked at it. I say, okay, well, do you know how your 401k is actually invested? I can't, by law, say, invest in this and change this fund, blah, blah. But right now, do you know if the market were to have another 2008, you would lose about 30 or 40% because you were super aggressive?
Which we did.
Yeah.
Which is what we had
Exactly.
this year. Yeah.
I've had a lot of clients like that too.
Yeah.
And do you have enough time for you to rebound from a hit like that again? Because
Right.
you're going to retire in 5 years.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. So I've had to say, listen, I always say you might want to be a little less aggressive, or do you realize that this percentage that you have in this particular fund is kind of high. It's so on and so forth, things like that.
Right.
If you pass away, do you have enough insurance? Because this insurance that you got when you were 18 years old from your mom for $30,000, yeah, it'll put you in the ground and probably leave a little bit extra, but you just bought a house, you just got married, your kids, things, so it's those kind of things where I have to bring those things out. Just like my example with the health, for instance. Like, for instance, for me, getting kind of personal here, but for a while, I used to work for another big name agency, and you've all heard of them. They had stadiums named after them, all that stuff too. One time they had a doctor come in just to give blood pressure, and I said, oh, let me just go do that. And she took my blood pressure, and her eyes lit up. And she said, wait, let me do it again. And she did it again. She said, go see a doctor. I said, why? I'm running around. I just did a half marathon a couple years ago. She said, your blood pressure is through the roof.
Wow.
Now, come to find out, it was because, what I'm eating and so on and so forth, and I have some, my family history, things like that. But you don't know about that. You're walking around thinking everything's all hunky-dory.
Yeah.
And then I could have had a heart attack any day.
And that's a great metaphor for the kind of service that you provide.
Exactly. So a lot of people walk around, they say, oh, my 401k is great. I have $400,000, blah, blah, but what are you trying to do with that?
Right.
Do you know that it's very aggressive? Do you have not enough insurance? How's your disability insurance? Because you have a very specialized skill.
Right.
Do you have anything? So those kind of things. I plan for the what ifs that you don't think about.
Got it.
And again, my story with my car accident, things like that, I've been through things like that.
So when we come back, we're going to talk to you more about your tactical tips and practical takeaways in networking. We're going to talk to you more about who you like to network with, who's a good introduction for you, and just more cool things that Jonathan Childs can bring up during this interview. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Boardwalks built for fun. Legendary rock and roll clubs.
This is how we do it. Hippity hop.
Casinos by the ocean.
Hippity hop.
Now that's New Jersey. 130 miles of beautiful beaches. solid rock. And everything in between.
Look in the window.
Now that's New Jersey. Plan your New Jersey trip at visitnj.org. Waves of fun. Nights of excitement. And a trail of memories. Now that's New Jersey.
To Connect to Success. I am here with Jonathan Childs. You're just the best, man. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, appreciate it.
So first of all, your story was, I feel like I either heard it before and forgot, but oh my goodness, it definitely shows the kind of power that you have and like the path that you've taken to do what you're doing now, which I think is absolutely incredible. So even that in itself is extremely admirable with the clients that you work with, because they can't relate, but they understand how important it is because it happened to you.
Yeah.
And like the unknown happened.
Exactly.
So tell me more about, with that kind of sense of engagement that you have with your clients, you also have built a really great community. And that community is in the veteran community, it's in the professional community. Can you tell me some of those organizations that you're a part of and the benefits of them?
Well, as we all know, the veteran organization is a very, very exclusive part of the population. And I think one thing I've found was when I talk to fellow veterans, going back to what I was saying about West Point, about the Army, is to say we can all have all kinds of different walks of life, but we can all speak the same language, basically.
Yeah.
And we know what it's like to have a lifestyle like that. It's not just a job; it's a lifestyle. It really is. And so I love meeting up with people like that because, for the most part, they are disciplined and they're punctual, and like me. I mean, you could.
You're on time?
My wife cracks jokes all the time. I'm like, babe, the thing starts at, like I was here about.
In 4 hours, I'm ready.
Yeah,
Let's go.
Yeah, I was here about an hour early, so I was sitting in the lobby, so just talking, things like that. I like talking to people like that too because we can speak the same language, like I said, and this is a very people-oriented job.
Right.
A lot of people tend to think of finances. They think of like the Madoffs and the Wolf of Wall Street people and all stuff like that, and all that doesn't matter. It basically does. That's how I get there.
Yeah.
But talking about people and just letting them talk and then having that kind of connection, that rapport, that trust.
Yeah.
So.
I love that. And so the organizations that you like to be, I think you're part of the West Point Society, right?
Yep.
And then GPVN, which is the Greater Philadelphia Veterans Network. You work with the VBRN, the Veterans Business Referral Network Program. On the professional side, are there any networking groups that you like?
Well, I tend to think of, again, going back to what I was saying before, my job is personal.
Yeah.
So I kind of let them blend. So like you said, Veteran Business Referral Network, like Alex Ostrowski, how you doing? And yourself.
Yeah.
We worked a lot together.
Very much so.
That, again, Travis Manion Foundation in
Yeah,
Doylestown.
those guys are great.
They're huge and they're awesome.
Yep.
Ryan Manion is awesome. Dale Witherell, all these people here, Josh Javin, all these are people, good people. And I like working with these people. And my way of going about networking is not the typical card dispenser.
Yeah.
I've seen that a lot. We've seen it a lot at the VBRN. And it's like, no, wait, put the cards down. Let me just talk to you for a second.
Yep.
Where are you from? What do you like to do? Do you have any kids?
A dedicated one-on-one.
Exactly. It's a dedicated one-on-one. And it's, I do this, but let's put that aside. Who are you?
Yeah.
And then if you are interested in something about what I could do for you, then it's like, okay, let's get into more about what I do.
Right.
And then, or if I can't do it, let me introduce you to so-and-so, like the whole, like I've introduced Caleb to friends and, you to friends, or Erica,
Yeah.
So all these different people, I like to be that, almost like the Chuck Woolery.
Yeah.
I like to kind of bring people together and try to, we all need to go ahead, and I think we can all, do better.
What do you think has been, and speaking, going off of the comment to do better, because you're absolutely right, what do you think has been the most common faux pas that financial advisors and planners and coaches do when they meet with somebody for the first time, you think?
sound like a salesman. You know,
Yeah.
oh, you're not in a good position. I could do this. Look at my portfolio that I've done, and look at this, that. And, yeah, exactly. Just regurgitate just information, and they sound like you know, like Bloomberg, something you could watch. It's just like, I don't need all that.
Yeah.
That's not what I want.
Yeah.
I want to know, boom, what's the bottom line? What you do help me get further? Help me achieve my goals? And like I said, they talk a lot over their head. You know, use a lot of verbiage. They sound like a salesman, and I don't want to be a salesman. That was one of my things I was afraid of when I first got into this industry, because I didn't want to come across like that. And sometimes I have to kind of catch myself, not sound like a salesman, but almost talking a little bit.
You get into a habit of
get into a habit.
how you explain yourself, because you've done it so many times, and
Yeah.
sometimes you don't really change the inflection or not necessarily cater to the person you're talking to. And sometimes, again, and that takes obviously practice, which you have. In the beginning, I remember it was repetition, and then I saw the deadpan eyes about what I did, and I was like, let me jazz this up to see if I can get an emotional response out of you.
Exactly. Yeah, I got to get my message to touch you somewhere,
Yeah.
and where you say, oh, that's what you do. That's the best thing, I think, when I tell people about what I do. When they say, oh, when they do that, just like that means, oh, okay, I'm interested, or like I touched something, as opposed to when I first started networking, it was okay.
Yeah.
As soon as I said the word finance, they're like, okay.
Yeah.
So is this guy here and that person there, and that lady over there, she's a finance. It's like, well, I swear I'm different. I swear. Like, well, yeah, right.
Yeah,
know?
but you got to be able to prove that within the first 30
Exactly.
seconds to a
Yeah,
minute.
yeah.
What has been your best networking moment and your worst networking moment?
Best networking moment. That's different. That's difficult.
I think I can probably answer that. I think you've had some really great success kind of in the beginning when I first met you with Veterans Business Referral Network. You led the charge in what the 30-second pitch was. And I think that really helped a lot of people there, and you kind of like nailed it and kind of rallied everybody up. I remember at VBRN you did that all the time, and I felt like that was a really good moment.
Well, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure.
You know, I'll hire you as my promoter next time.
Right.
But yeah, I think that was a good thing too. And I think what I tried to do there was I tried to differentiate it. I think we all in VBRN, we wanted to differentiate it from every other networking group that we go to. And so I tried to interject some kind of like humor.
A bit, yeah.
I like humor. Like, oh yeah, we're the Avengers. You know, Ashley's. You know, she's the Scarlet. You know, whatever. You know, so all these different things, just to kind of have that kind of just something
Erica
different.
is definitely Iron Man.
Oh yeah. Oh, she's.
I'm like a Pepper Potts. I'm like, I come in at the very end. Like,
Exactly.
give me, just give me the suit eventually.
Exactly. So that kind of, I like humor. So that got people's attention.
Yeah.
It got them from the glaze of, I'm just going to wait until I can say my 30-second pitch, give them my cards, and get out of here.
Right.
So that was one of the best ones. One of the worst ones, I would think, pretty much just, I don't think it's not one situation. I think it's just whenever they're just like, oh, okay. And they're looking around, where else can I, you know, I'm talking, I'm right from, they're looking around, hey, who else is here? You know, it's like, okay, well then I don't have them apparently. So.
It's so interesting too, because half the time, or 95% of the time with networking, it's a human-to-human interaction, right? So now with virtual kind of taking over into the scene, how has networking changed for you?
I have further reach. I think that's the main thing, but you're kind of sacrificing the interperson. You know, I'm still a big in-person kind of thing. Even with this in particular, the option was to do it via Zoom, which I said no. I'm zoomed out.
Yeah.
I think just like the rest of the
Everyone's having Zoom
everybody's
fatigue right now.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm zoomed out, but I do have that reach. I do have clients that I have in California that I won't be able to hop on a plane to go see. But at the same time, I do like the fact that I can shake a hand, or there's a little bit of things I can pick up on. They're smiling, they're saying, yeah, I understand, but you're widgeting and you're kind of like, you know, always adjusting in your seat. You're probably uncomfortable with something.
Right.
A lot of communication, about 70% of it is really nonverbal, right? So it's the faces you're making, the tightness, the tense, things like that. And then when I do actually get to pick up on that with a client, I say, okay, let's take a step back. You seem like you're not quite there yet. Is there anything I said that you don't understand, or something that makes you uncomfortable? And then that's when kind of I listen for any kind of cues that I might have said something the wrong way, or they don't quite understand it. and I can actually help to remedy that.
You are the first financial coach that I've ever heard that actually picks up on human behavior when they're working with a client.
Well, thank you.
Ever.
Told
I've
you I'm
never heard of that before. I mean, that is so important because it's such a sensitive topic, or it can be, and not to have the wherewithal to sit there and actually see what your client is really trying to tell you is insane. So who is a good strategic partner for you? So who would you share clients with?
Usually I will share clients with somebody I find is just as honest and competent.
Yeah. Well, referral partner, what kind of industry would they be in?
Oh, usually would be estate planners.
Estate planners? Okay.
Or tax, let's say CPs.
Okay, CPAs, yeah.
Things like that, yeah. Usually those two are the best ones, usually like family lawyers.
Okay.
So I deal with people, part of my financial plan is, and you're going through a divorce, okay, this is how this could affect this, but oh, by the way, you might want to talk to this person here because that's out of my lane. I'm not going to try to pretend like I know something that I don't and try to steer you the wrong way. So usually like lawyers, like CPAs, usually estate planning people, things like that.
Great.
And just usually what I try to refer, and then hopefully they refer back to me.
Yes,
So.
it's always when you always want to make a referral that it's also reciprocated too.
Exactly.
Well, my dear, we are done. Can you do me a favor?
was fast.
I know, because you're such a good talker. Do me a favor, look into this camera and tell people how they can find you.
You can find me at McNamara Financial Group, so www.McNamara, that's Mike, Charlie, November, Alpha, Mike, Alpha, Romeo,
Such a dork.
Alpha,
Such a dork.
financialgroup.com. You can find me you can reach out to me on my cell phone, 609-923-2260.
Thank you so much for being here, Jonathan.
Thank
You're
you
the
very
best.
much. Appreciate it.
You're the best.
Awesome.
All right, everybody. Thank you wow, words are hard. Thank you very much for watching Connect to Success with me, Ashley Owens, your personal networking concierge, 12:30, 1 o'clock on Thursdays during your lunch break, where we interview the power networkers of the greater Philadelphia and South Jersey area, and now all over the country because Zoom exists. If you'd like to be a guest, please email me at ashley@ashleysis.com, and we will see you next week. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.